Good morning and welcome to this wonderful day to talk about business. It's Business 360. Find details in the commodity market, the forex market, and the stock market. We begin from there. An Indian man who spends his days asking people for pocket change on the streets of Mumbai has been duped. The world's richest beggar by Indian media, who claims he is 100 rupees. Bharat Jain, the so-called world's richest beggar, reportedly makes between 2,000 and 2,500 rupees every day by asking generous people for handouts. Jain has this railway station, or Azad Maidan, for many years now and has accumulated quite a fortune. His net worth is expected to be around 7.5 crore, an equivalent of $1 million, and includes a two-bedroom flat in Mumbai worth 1.2 crore and two shops in Thane that rents for 30,000 rupees per $131 and 75,000 rupees, an equivalent of $914, which is apparently a lot more than most employed Indians earn. What a story. Like the popular ChatGPT artificial intelligence chatbots announced the formation of what he's calling XAI, whose goal is to understand the true nature of the universe. On a website, XAI said its team will be led by marks and staffed by executives who have previously worked at a broad range of companies at the forefront of artificial intelligence, including Google's DeepMind, Microsoft Incorporated. Despite his work in AI, Marx has expressed deep reservation about technology. Now to NATO summit. President Biden says commitment to Ukraine will not waver. Despite the economic woes from the war in Ukraine, at a time many are hoping, Joe Biden says the U.S. commitment to Ukraine will not weaken in a speech amid the NATO summit in Vilnius, Lithuania. Let's find out more.
Since this war began, putting crimes against humanity, the people of Ukraine remain unbroken. Ukraine remains independent. It remains free. And the United States has built a coalition of more than again. I've stood with President Zelensky, as I just spent about an hour with him, both in Washington, in Kyiv, in Hiroshima, and now in Vilnius, to declare to the world what I say again. We will not weaken. We will stand for liberty and freedom today, tomorrow, and for as long.
The concern amid the war is that of commodity prices, inflation pressure all around the world, especially for countries who depend on exportation. Food prices are high. The Nigerian business million Eurobond on its due dates. According to a statement by the debt office, the due date to redeem the Eurobond is a complete repayment of a total debt, which is the principal amount that 10 years ago was part of a dual tranche $1 billion Eurobond that has a 10-year tenor and a 6.375% per annum coupon. Still in Nigeria. The total number of issued bank verification numbers rose to Settlement Systems, PLC. The NIMS, the Central Bank of Nigeria, planned incidents of compromise on conventional security systems, passwords, and PIN had increased the demand for greater security for access to sensitive or personal information in the banking systems. So, looking at probes and incidences of that kind. Cited an alleged uneven disbursement of intervention loans to the tune of 483 billion naira by the Development Bank of Nigeria shared among the 6 geopolitical zones in the country. Set up a 7-man ad hoc committee to carry out a holistic investigation into the matter and report back to the Senate in 4 weeks for further legislative action. At the plenary, Ndume moved the motion, which was supported by 64 other senators and related banks to micro, small, and medium-scale enterprises in Nigeria from 2015 to date. $500 million to states in the 6 geopolitical zones of Nigeria and the states in a country in 2021 by the Development Bank of Nigeria. Quite concerning from that angle, from the around the world, the standings beginning from Asia. Pakistan's bailout. The International Monetary Fund, IMF board, has given its approval for the $3 billion bailout for Pakistan. The crisis-hit nation will get about $1.2 billion upfront, with the rest due to be paid out over next 9 months. The South African nation was on the brink, the South Asian nation rather, was on the brink of also receive funds from allies Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates UAE. Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif said the bailout was a major step. The 4 other data around the world, especially the US inflation rates, don't go anywhere. Data. US inflation rates. The annual inflation rate at expectations of 3.1%. The slowdown is partly due to a high base effect from last year, when a surge in energy costs slumped in May, with prices falling for fuel oil, gasoline, and utility gas service. Electricity prices increases were also recorded for new vehicles, apparels, and transportation services. The cost of medical services was down 0.8%. Let's move to the charts indicating United States inflation rates. The charts this morning. According to the US, drew a trajectory of decline. Next was 7.7% by October 2022 and 6.4% by January this year, and it kept going downward to 4.9% in April and 3% currently. In Asia, exports and market forecast of a 9.5% decline. This was the steepest fall in sales and the demand. Meanwhile, imports fell 6.8%, the 4th straight month of decrease due to deteriorating domestic demand. Exports in China. Exports in China has shown and getting to the negative zone of 14.8% in exportation in China before another decline segment came in, and currently at a negative 12.4%. Canada's interest rates. The Bank of Canada raised the target for its overnight rate by 25 basis point rate hike from the previous meeting and extending its tightening, the cycle after the brief pause in March and April. The central bank's governing council system for services, warranting another increase in borrowing costs. Cons expected, set to hover around 3% mark for next year before easing to 2% target the costs. Let's hear from the governor.
Today we raised our policy interest rate by 25 basis, 2 broad considerations. First, monetary policy is working, but underlies in the fight against inflation. CPI inflation has fallen from a peak of 8.1% last summer. Underlying inflationary pressures are proving more persistent than we expected. Higher interest rates, we are trying to balance the risks of under and over tightening monetary policy. Conditions unnecessarily painful for everybody. We've come along.
The governor says that ought to stay the course. Let's come back home to 42.5% in June 2023. From 42.2%, inflation was largely driven by rising prices for food and beverages. On a monthly basis, consumer prices increased by 3.2%. Still on the chart, let's look at Ghana's inflation rates. The chart statistical service had indicated that by July 2022, inflation stood to a peak of 54.1 and 53.6 this year, amid all the concerns with the Ghanaians by April this year, and back to 42.5%. The struggles continue. One of the highest in gold rallies above $1,960 after Wednesday's CPI, Consumer Price Index data release
Midweek, as we got a weaker than expected CPI. August gold saw a range of 1937 all the way up to 1965, closing above 1960 today. The dollar was lower, treasury yields were lower, all that culminating in rate hike expectations diminishing after the July FOMC meeting, which still is priced for a 25 basis point rate hike. If you look at the deferred months in gold, we are seeing December now trade back above 2,000 as economic uncertainty remains a question mark. But again, front month gold in August moved, and you'll notice that volatility moved lower today after the CPI event. Volatility moved lower across pretty much all asset classes, as now we...
What the prices for gold is this morning, the metal market. The metal market this morning has shown some positivity, but the volatility level is quite low for some of the commodity percentage appreciation. Silver is a little here, a little there. Copper, same story, steel. Now today, energy market. The energy market, current price for US crude is $75 per barrel, gaining 0.016 points, a 0.02% appreciation. Nigeria's price benchmark Brent, after hitting 80, increased today, a 0.07% appreciation. The derivative of crude are a little here, a little there. Now the agricultural market, the price for soybeans is 0.27% appreciation. The market is on the positive side, exception for palm oil, which has shown a decline 3,868 Malaysian ringgit per ton. That's the outlook on the commodities. Talking about amid higher German yields and hawkish expectations by the European Central Bank. Bob Icino.
September Euro currency futures, which is up 4 of the last 5 sessions and is having its best day since November 11th of last year. The Euro finished the New York session up yesterday's settlement of 110.37. On the low today, we hit 110.44, which is actually 0.06% higher than yesterday's level since the last week of February of this year. Now, yield differentials between countries are often drivers of currencies
in the morning market. The euro against the US dollar, and afterwards we'll look at the perspective of the naira. The euro against the US dollar has hit the 1.11 mark, moving slightly in the morning market, but similarly a wonderful increase for the pound. Let's look at the state of the naira against the dollar. Current price of US dollar over the naira is 700 points decline, a negative 0.36% decline for the euro against the naira, meaning the naira gained slightly over the euro. It's a black market and see what the black market is saying this morning. 815 naira equals $1 at the buying rate, and selling rate 801 naira equaling $1. Pound euro to naira is 880 naira to 1 euro at the buying rate, and 860 naira to 1 euro at the selling rate. The cryptocurrency market 126 points. Current price for Bitcoin is $30,578 for 1 Bitcoin. Ether also gaining, and it's the story around the markets from the fiat to the crypto markets.